What platform did you use to log into this talk today? How did you find logging in anyway? Do you realize that maybe there are 2 or 3 pieces of tech being used right now to bring this talk to you? It's a minefield. So today what we're going to be talking about is how we can avoid wasting time and money when it comes to selecting event technology for online events. This will be your insider track to making sure that you make the best choices when it comes to event technology. My name's Ashanti Bensordu, and today I'll be taking you through 3 key learning objectives. The top 3 questions you should be asking an event technology provider. And if you're in a sales demo already, you might want to take note of these questions. How you can ensure you have the right internal resources to pull off a seamless virtual event, much like this one. And thirdly, we're going to look at how you can engineer, that's right, engineer successful digital event outcomes so that you can wow your attendees and impress your stakeholders. So right now, what is the context that we're in right now? Well, it's estimated that 75% of events will be online by 2024. Yes, so if you've been trawling through LinkedIn, you might see those die-hard live eventers saying that this will end. But we can see the trends are moving that way. FMCG brands are starting to use virtual events to recruit, for example. We've got whole business industries using virtual events to reach people this Christmas. So we can see this is not slowing down, whether it's hybrid, virtual, or even just a one-time digital event. We're going to see the cases rise of this. The question is, how can you make the best choice for your virtual event? So in 2018, you can see there, that was the size of the market. By 2026, the forecast is nearly double. We've seen very recently virtual event or event technology companies receiving large sums of investment from VC. Now, what does that tell us? Okay, about the way the market is going? Well, event tech platforms are on the rise. If we look at what was happening pre-COVID, you had pretty standard event technology companies out there who helped you with maybe on-site registration. But since March 2020, we have seen a steep rise in developer-based platforms, in existing event technology platforms, innovating and introducing software integrations that can help you launch a virtual event. There's a lot of choice. I mean, when we look at event technology as a whole, there are over 300 companies listed on most main databases. And if we look at the companies within that circle and pool, over 100 can facilitate an online event. That's a lot of choice. And if you're in this for the first time, because, hey, before now, you may not have been the person making those purchase choices. Maybe you weren't the individual who planned all of the events that your company had going. But we can see the buyer type, and that might be you, has changed. Maybe you're completely new to buying event technology. So let's have a look. On average, buyers are spending over 16 hours on event tech demos. What do I mean by that? Well, we have seen that the sales demos that event technology companies are conducting, people are on them for at least an hour. Why? Because you might be completely new to understanding event technology, understanding online events, and actually the objectives that you might be trying to achieve. This is an awful lot of time, and that really is a very moderate estimate of the amount of time we're seeing individuals spend on demos when buying event technology. Then there's the issue of internal resource, okay? The digital skill gap. And this doesn't only impact the events industry. In general, we're seeing that digital literacy is lower than it needs to be to adapt and respond to the current climate. So if you're not used to using, for example, even social media, or maybe your company only did live events and you left anything tech related to your AV partner, for example. So the challenge right now is if you do not have that kind of level of familiarity or competence when it comes to digital skills, how do you adapt? How do you make the right choices for your company when it comes to purchasing event technology? We're going to talk about that shortly. And then, of course, the risks of choosing the wrong event technology. Okay, so we've just stated how big the market is, how it continues to grow, what the challenges are in terms of the amount of time, and also if you are, not as digitally competent as you would like to be right now, the risk is you spend money on the wrong technology. And of course, that's not great for the bottom line. The second risk is that you spend a lot of time. Maybe you and other stakeholders, other peers and team members have all been trawling on Google or looking through LinkedIn, wondering what technology is the right choice for you. And then there is just the frustration that we're seeing many buyers have. Who do we trust? How do we know we're actually getting what we're being sold in the demo? And what happens if after purchasing event technology, you don't get what you were expecting? Maybe the level of customer support isn't there. Maybe you didn't realize that the level of control that you don't have when accessing the platform, when adapting and modifying the platform. So there are some very real risks of choosing the wrong event technology. So here are the top 5 things to consider. Okay. And by the way, if you've got a demo planned this week, these are the things that you need to have on a notepad or ready on your laptop so that you can ask the event technology company these things. The first thing to think about is this your first digital event? Or is it a one-off digital event? Or are you actually planning a long-term digital event strategy? Let's go back over that. Is this your first digital event? Is this a one-off digital event? Or will this make up a long-term digital strategy? Because the answer to those questions really does guide and affect the choice that you might make when it comes to event technology. Some platforms and software are geared up for a one-time, maybe even small to medium digital event. And actually, if you're only going to be doing this for the first time, you do know that team members really have to be upskilled in this area. You might want to consider choosing a piece of technology that is simple to use. Because if it's your first transition, it can be very, very challenging to get to grips with all of the elements of an online event, plus get used to quite a complicated platform. So if it's your first time, keep it simple. Make a choice based on the level of skill that you have in the team right now and the amount of time you have or don't have to get used to using a piece of event technology. If it's a one-off event, so what we see very often is that companies will come along and they have, 100 things on their list of needs and wants for their online event. Here's the thing. If you invest in a piece of software, especially if you're looking at an annual license, but your event is a one-off event, you might be better off choosing a piece of tech for a one-time event as opposed to investing in an annual license where you might not actually use the platform thereafter. Annual licenses do cost more than one-off events, especially if you're only doing a one-off event. However, if you have a long-term strategy in place, maybe you're thinking of doing a series of digital events in whatever shape or form, on different scales, maybe 500 attendees, maybe 50 attendees, some internal meetings or training webinars. If it is a long-term strategy for 2021, for example, then absolutely look at event technology companies that do give the option to have an annual license. So we're just going to go over that from the top again. If this is your first online event, look for companies, that make it simple for you to make the transition. Consider partnering with companies who will take the burden of all of the modification, customization, and live tech support. If it's a one-off event, be careful. Make sure that you are investing in a platform that allows you to run one event instead of investing in an annual license, which you might not use in the long term. And here's a little bit of an insider tip here. If you're not sure what your long-term strategy is right now, maybe consider using a platform for a one-off event. Take the learnings and that feedback and how your team felt about that event, and then decide on a long-term platform to use. Okay, so if you don't know yet exactly how you want to use digital online events as a part of your overall strategy, whether that's about marketing, community building, etc., expanding your reach, then think about choosing a platform that allows you to run one event, take those learnings and those feedback, and then you can make a decision about a long-term piece of tech. Now, if you know already what your long-term strategy and goals are, then of course, look for an event tech company who can partner with you in a holistic way. An event tech company that will allow you to have a certain degree of control and access to the back end of the platform. So if you need to make changes, if you want to upload new sponsorship logos and branding, you have the option to do that. The worst thing to find out after investing in an event tech company is that you cannot actually access the platform. You have to rely on their in-house team to do it all for you. So that's just the first thing. If you're in a demo or you're planning a demo or you have a demo scheduled, understand, is this a first time, a one time, or a long-term strategy? Okay, and on that note, we do have to know what we want and need. Okay, we call it hierarchy of needs. Now, what are your non-negotiables? What things are completely essential for your virtual event? What's more important? Is it the budget, how much you invest? Is it the attendee experience? Maybe you want networking to happen. Maybe the main aim of the event is for speakers to come on live, deliver their talk, and then, attendees have a little fireside chat. You've got to be clear on what your hierarchy of needs are, because this, to a certain extent, does guide the event technology choices that you make. If budget is important to you, then look at the event tech companies that are within your budget for a one-time event or an annual license. But if in fact budget isn't your main factor and the experience that your attendees are going to receive during the onboarding stage and also during the actual event, then look at platforms whose USP, whose golden nugget is indeed the attendee experience. So understand your hierarchy of needs before you go into the sales demo, before you start shortlisting down your company options. And then when you get into the sales demo, be firm with yourself, but also the sales rep. Let them know what you're looking for. Be upfront about what your non-negotiables are. We know that this is a time where it can feel like walking into a candy shop because, hey, there are so many choices, so many possibilities, but that's not helpful when you're having to make a choice, especially a choice that you have to make under time pressure, where in fact budget may be a consideration. So be firm. Understand what it is that you're looking for and really stick to that in the sales demo conversations. Okay, so what other things should you be asking about in the actual sales demo when you're making these choices? As I alluded to earlier, level and quality of customer support. There's nothing worse than being in a live event, something breaking or a stream going down, or many of your attendees asking how they can log in or access a piece of content and not knowing what to say. And then you email the company and they don't reply. Maybe their SLA is 1 working day. Well, that's not very helpful in a live event. So ask about the level and quality of customer service. It's not enough to be okay with being told that we have email access, we have a chat box function. What does that really mean? Is there a real human being at the end of a phone? Is there a real human being floating and live on the platform during your actual event? Those are the details that make the difference. Again, if this is your first time digital event, the customer support really does matter. The second thing to ask about is the access and control. What do I mean by that? Well, every single event tech platform, when you purchase one to run a digital event, has what we call a dashboard and the back end. And what that does is allow you to upload content. Okay, so that could be your sponsor branding, it could be talks, it could be videos, images, etc., into the back end. And then what your attendees are seeing is the front end. Okay, that's what they log into and have the selection of access. You need to understand how much access you get to the back end of your platform. How much control do you have on what is uploaded, how it's uploaded? Is training required for you to navigate the back end and the dashboard competently so that you can find data when you're looking for it, especially if you've got stakeholders or sponsors? Data is going to be really important. How easy is it for you to access and have some control over that data? Ask that question in your sales demo. And the third thing is around pricing transparency. Are there hidden costs? Okay, so when you go into that sales demo, you will know what you need. So for example, is live streaming critical to your virtual, digital or online event? If it is, make sure you're asking the sales rep, is live streaming included in this package? If it's not, how much more does it cost? Are recordings included? So for example, after live streaming content, some platforms will have a functional feature that allows for that live stream to be recorded. However, some platforms charge you additional fees to have the recording on the platform and accessible to your attendees. You need to ask about the hidden costs, which is why having that hierarchy of needs is really important so that you can get a more accurate estimation or quote from the virtual event company before you proceed. Now, here's the thing. I've said an awful lot in just these few minutes. It is a minefield. Okay, and if you end up in a sales demo, well, I'm sorry to say, but their job, their aim is to actually sell you something. So seek unbiased advice in advance. Seek unbiased advice in advance about the virtual event companies that are out there, what they do, what their USPs are, and what you should be looking for and asking about in the sessions. Look for companies that are transparent from the beginning. Okay, even before you get onto the sales demo, how open are they about their pricing, about the capabilities of their technology? Okay, there's no use asking about a certain feature and you're told it will come in 12 months' time if your event is happening in 2 months' time. You want to understand what options are available to you in the here and now when you are making that particular purchase. Okay, so the top 3 questions there. What's included in the package? What support is available? And can you facilitate or enable my objectives? So the ones that you have right now, not the ones that the company might be planning to introduce in 12 or 24 months' time. Now, we talked a little bit, didn't we, about understanding how you engineer successful outcomes. And the technology you choose does play a part in this. Remember, technology is inanimate. It does really what we tell it to do. However, when it comes to online events, you're essentially choosing a new team member. And remember, that team member is the most inexperienced team member in your business or company. The technology itself, and actually sometimes the technology company, isn't going to be aware of all of your aims and objectives. So approach it the way you would if you are hiring a new team member. You've got to have a strategy and you need to keep it simple, particularly if this is your first time online event. Okay, so have a strategy. What are the hierarchy of needs? What are our desired successful outcomes? What do they look like? And then what you do is you choose a platform, a piece of software, or a tech stack that can help you achieve those particular aims. And remember, the technology is the most inexperienced member of your team. So that's it from us today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out because it is a minefield. Stop wasting time on various demos and in lots of sales kind of conversations when maybe it's actually quite premature for you. Maybe you're in the exploratory phase where you really need to understand what your goals are.